older video games had a magical way of making their worlds feel vast and boundless, even with limited technology. Titles like The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Shadow of the Colossus, The Elder Scrolls III: Morrowind are often remembered for their sense of awe and scale they invoked. Players recall feeling tiny in a massive world, facing towering bosses, or exploring endless fields. This is remarkable given the technical limitations of the time. How did these older games accomplish this illusion of enormity and immersion? And why do so many modern games, despite their bigger maps and better graphics, sometimes feel less mysterious or overwhelming? Let's look at how memory, art design, limited guidance, and mystery contributed to older games feeling massive. Our memories play a big role in how we perceive game worlds. Many of us remember our first 3D adventures as huge. For example, Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Field felt endless and full of possibility when we first played it in 1998. In hindsight, that field is actually fairly small and sparse, but our childhood imagination filled in the blanks. Early games often had to leave things to the imagination due to technical constraints, and players eagerly filled those gaps. This design trusts the player's mind to expand the world beyond what's explicitly shown. Older titles similarly trusted players to dream up possibilities. A locked door might hide an entire unseen level. An unreachable background castle could spark legends on internet forums. Nostalgia amplifies this effect. Our memories can exaggerate how large and alive those worlds felt. While modern games can literally be larger, they sometimes leave less room for the player's mind to wander, so everything is laid out in high fidelity. The result is that older games live larger in our memories, the worlds expanded by our own imagination. In classic games, art design often trumped realistic detail, creating a grand sense of scale with relatively simple graphics. Developers cleverly used stylistic choices and technical tricks to make environments feel expansive and mysterious. For instance, Shadow of the Colossus embraced a minimalist aesthetic, a hazy landscape of empty valleys and barren caverns, with only a distant silhouette of a colossus in the distance. This sparse world not only sidestepped hardware limits, but it also gave players a feeling of loneliness and grandeur. The vast plains and ruins felt like an ancient forbidden land, bigger than it actually was. In contrast, modern remakes or games often fill every corner with detail. The 2018 remake of Shadow of Colossus is stunning, yet some argue that the added realism changes the atmosphere. The original was akin to an impressionist work, a study in light and silhouette, whereas the remake is more literal and tangible. This highlights a key point. Stylization and suggestion can make a world feel mythic. Older games often use fog or draw distance limits as a feature. A limited horizon meant anything could exist beyond your view, sparking curiosity. By not showing every detail, the world felt mysterious and larger than life. In modern ultra-realistic games, you can often see distant mountains in sharp detail. Impressive, but it also signals to the brain exactly what's there. Striking art direction, even if technically simpler, can evoke a sense of scale and wonder that pure realism sometimes misses. It's the difference between a painted landscape that suggests infinite adventures and a photograph that shows everything plainly. One of the biggest reasons older game worlds felt huge was the lack of hand-holding. These games often dropped you into the world with minimal guidance, forcing you to truly explore. In The Elder Scrolls III: Morrowind, for example, you're given directions through dialogue and journals. No glowing arrows or GPS markers telling you exactly where to go. A quest might say, head north from town, then west at the river to find the cave. You'd open up your paper map and figure it out. Sometimes you got lost, but in getting lost, the island felt enormous and real. Because you had to navigate the unfamiliar landscape yourself, every journey felt like an adventure. By contrast, when Oblivion and Skyrim introduce ubiquitous quest markers and fast travel, some believe it completely mangles what made Discovery so special. Follow a floating icon from point A to point B turns exploration into a simple connect-the-dots exercise rather than an expedition. Modern open-world games often err on the side of too much guidance. Ubisoft's open-world formula has been especially notorious for map clutter. You open the map and see dozens of icons, objective markers, and dotted lines showing you exactly where to go next. Games like Elden Ring deliberately avoid over-guidance. It places you in a massive world with only minimal hints, much like older titles did. There's no exhaustive quest log, the map has no quest icons by default. Players must pay attention to NPC dialogue or environmental clues, or just wander around and find things on their own. The result? Many players found themselves truly exploring again. That feeling of being lost or not having your hand held can paradoxically make the world feel bigger. Every hill you crest or ruin you stumble upon feels like something you discovered, not something the game just pointed you to. Older games excelled at this. While not open world in the modern sense, games only gave cryptic hints. There's no arrow saying, go here next. You have to recall locked doors or unexplored paths and decide where to try next. Limited guidance forces players to engage more deeply with the game world, studying maps, memorizing landmarks, wondering what lies beyond the visible, all of which enhances the perceived scale. Modern games that adopt this older philosophy show that leaving things to the player's initiative can rekindle that expansive feeling. Beyond navigation, mystery and ambiguity in storytelling and world building make classic games feel immersive and large. Early games didn't bombard you with codex entries or lengthy cutscenes explaining every piece of lore. Instead, story details were often sparse or hidden, which made the world feel more alive beyond our knowledge. You piece together the narrative from item descriptions, cryptic NPC dialogues, and environmental clues. This design was very much intentional. The result is a community of players sharing theories, discovering secrets together, feeling like the world is full of elusive wonders. In Dark Souls, you might defeat a boss and only later realize its significance to the story after reading a ring's description, or you find a hidden path to an area that's entirely optional, which makes you wonder, what else haven't you seen? This kind of mystery makes the game world feel rich and unbounded. There's always another secret around the corner. Older adventure games also have benefited from the pre-internet or early internet era. Mysteries could linger. In the late 90s, playground rumors and magazine articles spread speculative secrets. Was there a way to find the Triforce in Ocarina of Time? Could you resurrect Aerith in Final Fantasy VII? These myths persisted because the games left some things to the imagination and didn't immediately disprove wild ideas. While not all mysteries were intentional, the limited information nurtured a sense that these worlds had depths yet unfathomed. Morrowind, to this day, has quests and artifacts tucked away in corners of the map that many players never find on the first playthrough. There's no checklist pushing you there. You discover them by truly exploring or reading in-game books for clues. Modern titles, in an effort to provide content, often put all their cards on the table. Quest markers and detailed journals mean you're unlikely to miss anything, but that also means the player isn't wondering if there's a hidden quest out there. Modern games tend to heavily script everything. Every character has voiced lines, every major site is tied to a quest, there's less room for the unknown. A game that leans into mystery can make the world feel overflowing with secrets. It invites the player to poke at the edges of the map, to revisit old locations with new eyes, and to speculate about lore. Mystery turns a static map into a living world in the player's mind. It's an element of design that modern games sometimes sacrifice in the name of completeness and clarity. Modern titles present breathtaking vistas that showcase immense landscapes and incredible detail. Today's open-world games are undeniably large in literal size and fidelity. Red Dead Redemption 2 offers an entire American frontier to roam, complete with realistic forests, mountains, and towns bustling with NPCs. Cyberpunk 2077's Night City is dense with skyscrapers, neon signs, and crowds, a level of detail older hardware could never dream of. These games achieve geographic scale and realism that is truly impressive. However, bigger doesn't automatically mean feels bigger in the ways that matter. In some cases, modern games lose that overwhelming mystery that older games had, precisely because they are so detailed and polished. Take Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a triumph of realism, where even the horse manure decays over time. Yet the game very much shepherds you through a cinematic narrative. The world is huge, but the game's design often encourages you to stick to the main roads. Stray too far and you might find the edges of the gameplay. There are fewer dungeons or non-story bosses to stumble upon compared to a fantasy RPG. The experience is incredibly immersive, but in a curated way. You're inhabiting Arthur Morgan's life, which is richly detailed, but also guided. The mystery is more about the storyline than about the world itself, which is historically grounded. In older RPGs, you might always wonder if there's a hidden quest in that one remote house on the hill. Modern design philosophy often doesn't want players to miss content, understandable from a business player satisfaction standpoint, but by ensuring everything is served to the player, the world can feel more like a checklist than a mysterious realm. Many modern open worlds, such as the typical big-budget RPG or action game, ensure the player knows about all the major locations via map icons or compulsory story missions, meaning there are fewer genuine surprises. Another aspect is pacing and emptiness. Older games often weren't afraid of emptiness. Traveling in Morrowind could mean minutes of seeing nothing but hills and the occasional Nick sound. That emptiness makes the world feel bigger, and also makes finding something feel rewarding. Modern games sometimes fear the player's boredom and pack the world densely. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example, peppers the sea with countless question mark icons, so you encounter something every few steps. Ironically, this can shrink the sense of scale because you're constantly being interrupted by points of interest, never alone with the world. The balance between content density and atmospheric emptiness is delicate. When done right, stretches of quiet travel make the world feel expansive and real. When done poorly, too much empty space is boring, but too little space makes the world feel like a theme park. Modern games strive to find this balance, but the trend has been moving towards giving players more to do everywhere, which can undermine the illusion of a vast, untamed world. There's a lot modern games could learn from their predecessors about perceived scale and immersion. First, less can be more. Resisting the urge to explain everything or fill every corner with detail leaves room for players to wonder. A bit of fog, a mysterious locked door, or an unmarked quest can ignite players' curiosity far more than another scripted event can. Modern developers can leverage today's technology without abandoning player imagination. For example, using procedural events or lore tidbits that aren't fully explained to make the world feel alive beyond the player's presence. Exploration should be a journey, not just a task list. Might be time to rethink the overuse of map markers and GPS-style guidance. Players won't complain about being lost if the act of finding the way is engaging. In fact, as we've seen with the success of games like Elden Ring, many players crave that feeling of uncovering the unknown on their own. Modern games can provide gentle nudges, but they shouldn't be afraid to let the players roam free and discover at their own pace. Artistic direction is another lesson. Chasing realism is great, but it should serve the gameplay experience, not overshadow it. Stylized visuals or strategic use of simplicity can make certain aspects stand out more. Shadow of the Colossus taught us that a solitary ruin in a barren land can feel more profound and huge than a city full of copy-pasted buildings. The goal is to spark the player's imagination, to make them feel like there's always more beyond the horizon or beneath the surface. Modern open worlds could intentionally design with a bit of mystery, perhaps even leaving some secrets unmarked and letting the community share stories, the way older gamers used to swap secrets on farms and playgrounds. The games of the past felt bigger, not because of how many square miles their map covered, but because of how they made us feel while exploring them. They trusted our memory and intuition, employed artful design to suggest grand scale, and embraced the unknown. Today's games have the tools to create physically larger worlds than ever, but the sense of overwhelming wonder comes from clever design, not just raw size. By combining modern technology with the old-school philosophies of exploration and mystery, developers can create worlds that not only impress us with their realism, but also rekindle that childlike feeling of stepping into a boundless adventure. Sometimes, to make a game truly feel big, you have to remember what it was like when we didn't need to see everything to believe in a world. The best experiences leave room for the player, and their imagination to roam. What do you think about how open world games have changed over the years? Let me know down below, and while you're down there, maybe like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want more videos like this. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Bye-bye.